All right, everybody. So we have Kunal Nandwani, the founder of uTrade Solutions, with us. Kunal is a serial entrepreneur, as many of you must be aware of him. You must have seen him at different events altogether. And he's also a founding member of Chandigarh Angels Network. So we have had the opportunity to work with Kunal, and it's been a great pleasure working with him. He has a prolific background in entrepreneurship with many startups under his belt. So, Kunal, I won't hold the audience much longer, and I wouldn't, keep speaking. So, I would ask you to sort of, give an elaborate introduction. Anything else that you want to speak on, you can go ahead and do that.
Okay, hi guys. Glad to be here. I'm Kunal Nandwani, and I run a couple of tech startup companies, namely uTrade, Hashgrove, based out of Chandigarh, and I have some other offices in outside Chandigarh, within India, and outside India as well. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 10 years or so, and I raised some funding for my first startup, and then for the last few years, I've been investing in startups as well. And I've written a book and another one coming up shortly on the sustainability focused startups. We can talk more about that later if we have time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I've been on both sides of investing and fundraising. So, I do realize how hard it is to run the startups, and you guys who are either doing a startup or wanna be a startup entrepreneur, it's really tough, but a very rewarding journey. So happy to share whatever little I can in the next hour or so. So look forward to your questions and answering and interacting with you guys.
Sure. Thank you, Kunal. I'm sure most of our listeners are either running their own startups or anticipating to run in near future. And all these sudden changes arising due to COVID-19 are very overwhelming. So, what economic impact do you foresee due to this worldwide lockdown? And what are your thoughts on it?
So the current economic situation because of COVID-19 is a very, very, very strange, uncharted territory, and the most difficult situation most of us might face in our lifetimes. I've spoken to some very senior people and relatively older as well, and they all said that this is probably the last big thing they would see in their life. So frankly, it is not just a small bump in our journey. It's a massive reset of lots of things which would happen economically and otherwise, socially as well. So I think this lockdown has actually suddenly stopped the big economic cycle that we had seen running for the foreseeable, for the as far as our memory goes. We've never seen where a situation where the corporates do not spend, the retail individuals like you and I stop spending and going out, and a lot of people dying and falling sick at the same time, and the governments being unable to control this and spend to run the economy at the same time. So keeping the health issue apart, which is a big issue, and this is likely to impact millions of people, and quite a few of them will be really severely impacted. Keeping that apart, which certainly is a more a healthcare and a humanity issue, and it has repercussions on the society and the economy as well. But keeping that apart, just the mere fact that we have shut down the economy now, this lockdown is not just us as individuals, but it is a shutdown of the whole economy. And this may last not just for 3 weeks; it's likely to last possibly 6 to 8 to 12 weeks. I think this economic shutdown across the board has lots of repercussions. Um, People will lose jobs, companies will go under. Anyone who has debt, and bigger they are, tougher their problems are going to be. And economy will also, and the bigger issue is not only months. These 3 months, if they were just hibernation mode for all of us, and we go back to the world as it were again in the past February or January this year, it would not be so bad or not so something which we cannot deal with. But the reality is, even if we control the spread by June, it's not that July suddenly the economy will be back where it was on a monthly basis. February, many people will still not go out. Nobody is gonna likely buy the Mintra shirts or the watch the movies in PVRs or do the things we used to do. Will still stay away and scared for a long time. And work from home is going to become the new norm. No, that will make the real estate prices drop significantly. And the economic cycle, the contraction in the economy in this current financial year, starting April and running till March, is likely to be 10, 20, 30%. That'll take us back to from $3 trillion economy, possibly to $2.5 trillion economy. Now, that'll take us back 10, 15 years in terms of the economic size. It's a major disruption. It's a major shift. Lot of are going to lose a lot of wealth. Poor people are going to be pushed below the poverty line. It's happening. HNIs are not HNIs anymore. There's who are struggling, and so this is not just it's a major reset. It's going to be very tough. So unfortunately, I'm the one breaking this news to you. Not many people are necessarily talking in these tones so far. I've not seen too many media or any coverages like this, but that's how I see the world going, and it's not looking pretty for anyone for a number of years to come.
Sure. Thanks for sharing. Now, what is in the package for the entrepreneurs and startups? What can they anticipate as the impact on the business? Because there are many MSMEs around us. There are so many startups that we also working with day in day out. What impact do you foresee on the startups? Firstly?
So startups, look, startups possibly know this. Doing startups is hard for everyone, anywhere in the world. Now, doing startups in India are 10 times harder because of ease of doing business in India, etc. And now this market environment is gonna be another exponential level difficult. So it's going to be hard. Most of the, depending on what the startup is, I mean that not every crisis necessarily doesn't represent opportunities. So maybe your startup is in the space of things like Zoom or something else, which is the new norm, and you can grow in that case. But only less than a percent of startups, I believe, might be in that category who may benefit from this cycle. But everyone else who is serving customers, getting clients to pay something in a B2C market, or who's getting someone to play games on their platform, or somebody to some corporate to buy some software from them or some services from them, the market is going to be very slow. Not many people are going to spend too much. Not many people are going to pay too much. And in these few months, or possibly many clients will not even pick up your phones. So it will be very difficult next few months. Manage your cash flows well. So just make sure you can survive the storm over the next few months. It's easier said than done, obviously, but try and keep as much balance as you can, cash balance, I mean. Keep some, if you have some few months runway, it's a great thing. Spread out what you have saved and don't burn everything up front. Do not overinvest into things like marketing or sales or any other things which you can avoid at this point if you can. Conserve cash. If you can survive with very limited cash and very limited business in the next few months, you will do okay. But otherwise, do not overspend and do not expect that all the clients will keep paying you in the next few months as they used to in the past few months. So keep these two things in mind and manage your cash flows. This is the main advice I can give you, because startups money in the account. The moment money runs out, startups don't work, right? Everyone leaves, it ends. So right now, survival has to be your number one goal, and for that, cash is the lifeline that you need.
Got it. Are you also going to break some news on the startup side too? Do you see any massive impacts on startup funding?
Massive impact on the startups funding?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, so funding will also be slowed. Understand that this economy is a cycle. Okay, you get money from angel investors or you get money from VCs. These are the typical funding routes you choose, right? Your angel investors are likely to be also running some businesses of their own, and they may also be likely struggling or trying to conserve cash or survive their businesses themselves. So angel funding will drop this year. Whatever the numbers were last year or till March, next financial years, you'll see very different numbers. If you want me to take a guess, whatever it was last year, assume less than 50% in the next year, right? So angel funding will drop. VCs who have raised capital before, who have the funds running and have surplus, they may still keep investing, but very, very carefully. They will also become careful and diligent. VC's investment round and process, which used to be maybe 3 to 6 months to 9 months, will now become longer because they cannot meet you physically. Their accounts team cannot do audit on you quickly. They cannot meet your clients to validate your value proposition to them, etc. So VC process will also slow down. And equally, many VCs who were in the at the themselves in order to fund you guys are not going to be able to raise money from their LPs. LPs are their limited partners, so they're not going to get their own investors investing anymore any quickly either. So the VC process will also slow. So funding will be very hard to come by in the next financial year, in the current financial year, and it'll be a damn slow process. So if you think you're gonna need money in 6 months to 1 year, start working terribly hard right now to make sure you can get it within a year. Otherwise, more you delay it, more likely it is that you're not gonna be able to raise it in time. So process will slow, amounts will drop. This is happening.
Sure, sure. And all the entrepreneurs who are listening to this right now, watching you live, and the ones who will be watching the video, what should they be equipped with to sail through these challenging times? What do you think are a few things they can do right now? We heard about cash flows, managing cash flows. We heard about staying alive. Anything else that you want to add to the list?
So, few things. May I request everyone to be on mute, please? There is on mute. Okay. Okay. So, few things I suggest you do right now. So, number one, more than entrepreneurship, this is a humanity test in my view. Be a good human, be a good social animal, humanity first. So firstly, take care of your friends, family, your own health. Look after your employees or team members, your suppliers or clients. Look after your stakeholders as a person. Look after them. Do not just worry about the money coming in or not. That's the number one thing you should definitely do. Be a good human being. This is a more humanity test than an entrepreneurship test. That's one. Secondly, do not too much news. It's highly negative and depressing in my view. So read a little, follow a little, but do it like only 10, 20 minutes a day, or maybe half an hour, 1 hour a day. Don't watch it all the time and keep watching, reading, and forwarding to others. It's not going to help. So, eventually you have to head down and try to work on your business continuity, but do not read too many negative things or forward and get involved in the negative things, because it'll bend your frame of mind to become also very negative if you do that. That's second advice I can give you. Thirdly, be very clear and transparent with your team. So if you have a small team or a big team, be very clear and transparent with them what you're going through, how much months bank account, how long can you survive with them, with the whole team, or when do you have to start cutting? If you have to start cutting, what is the client pipeline looking like, etc. So keep them in loop, keep them abreast. I don't think they're stupid either, and the news have started flowing that companies are firing, companies are shutting down, people are not paying rents, etc. Things are happening. So frankly, it's not that anybody doesn't get this information or get this. So try and do whatever is right for your company, by keeping in mind that your employees are also a very important asset and a very important pillar of your company. And if you were to survive this and you have dealt with your employees well, they're likely to be more loyal to you eventually, and hopefully. So these three things I would say. Firstly, be a good human being. Look after as many people around you as you can. Secondly, don't watch and spread too much negative news. It is what it is. It doesn't change if you read it 10 times or 100 times. And lastly, try try and know what you're going through, and maybe sometimes they can come up with solutions which you cannot think of alone. So be transparent with them. If you have to cut salaries or cut cost or do something, let them know upfront. Lead by example. Before salary or firing someone, consider cutting your own salary, etc. if you're in that spot and that position. So it's a good leadership test as well. These are the times which can make you a good leader. And lastly, maybe consider following some constructively good people who are putting out some good suggestions, like you're turning up to this event, this webinar. If you find this constructive, there may be many more people around who can present the glimmer of hope and positivity to you and the right things to do this kind of an environment. It would be useful for you to learn it from them and share it with your teams.
Got it. Thank you. Now I have the last one before we switch over to the questions by the audience. And as you know, work from home is a new norm. Now, how can entrepreneurs and their teams be productive enough while working from home? So what are you guys doing at uTrade to stay productive?
So yeah, it's a different world now, and it's gonna be like this for a long time, for a few months. Clearly, we see that, but it may even continue after this. Work from home will be the new normal. Why would people spend time anymore in the traffics and going to big offices and paying so much rent? People are likely to move their softwares and hardware to the cloud and start working from home more and more, or play their convenience. So frankly, this is likely to be the new norm. Now, some good practices you may consider following. Some of them I'm trying to do. One, wake up in time, make a routine. So wake up at whatever, 5, whatever you do, bath, get ready, dress up. It will help you form the discipline. If you try to stay lazy in the bed and work from bed by lying down, you may not be as constructive. It will not help your routine. So try to form a routine and follow it. Get ready every day, and then just like you are going to office, instead of that, just go to the desk and chair wherever you can put your laptop and start working. So that's the first thing which is important and good. Secondly, keep time of things what you're doing. I'm talking to some people who are overworking these days because they don't know when to finish. They're all day working and they're at home. They don't have to go anywhere. They cannot go anywhere out. The family can't complain that you're not coming back home. So frankly, they're overworking. So I just try and time. So if you're starting at 9, finish at 5, 6, 7, 8 p.m. whenever you want, but form a routine and cut it out. And try to that's the second thing. Form the time when you start and when you end. Lastly, I think find some time to spend with yourself. So you have no excuse not to spend time with your family and yourself. So try to introspect what's going on. This is a relaxed time. Try and use it to think through some of the deeper meaning things you ought to be thinking about you, your business, your family, your ambitions, etc. This is a good time to do that. So work from home offers you this ability. And if you're in a city like Chandigarh, like some of us are, I'm sure you are able to walk around in your neighborhood a little bit, and it's quite pleasing, and the weather is nice as well. So do go for walks, spend time introspecting. If you're not into yoga, meditation, and other things, this is the least you can do. These are some of the things, Vineet, I would suggest.
Sure. If you don't mind, what are you reading these days? I'd ask you, what are you writing these days, actually?
So I've written a conspiracy theory just now, which reads, "We are in World War III. China, Russia are winning it." It's a full conspiracy theory. It's a blog which will come out tonight. I'll share it with you guys if you want to read it. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter. I write once, twice a week. And you can look into some of the new ideas I bring. What am I reading? I read this book called This is a book by Harari, who is an Israeli historian author, who is a famous writer of *Sapien*, which is a big bestseller. And Homo Deus is a good book which talks about how humans have evolved and how everything we do is actually driven by the 80 billion neurons that we have in our brain, and it's all a chemical reaction. There is no love, consciousness, fear, or anything else. These are the feelings, the way we describe them, but none of them actually exist. It's part of our reaction of our neurons in our brains, and that's a very complex network of brain that we have evolved over centuries to long time since our revolution. So that's a book about Homo Deus. Good book, highly recommended if you want to read it. Yeah, so that's what I'm reading.
Sure. Thank you very much for sharing. Now, Soumya has a question, and she's asking, how do you think the impact investing might fare? You know, social impact investments. Does a liquidity position not support it, or the social focus will keep it going? So overall, what's going to be the impact on social impact investment?
So look, arguably any business right now or anything right now is being challenged due to lack of resources and funds. So all investing is down. Social impact, if anything, I think this is a time when maybe it's actually positive for social impact investing. Possibly, I cannot justify this with any numbers yet. My thought is this: that this is a time, this is a more humanitarian crisis, like I was trying to describe. There are a lot of positive publicity and coverages and promotions and constructive feedbacks given to people who are, or the organizations that are doing the social society, and many others are following suit and sort of getting inspired by that. So frankly, if anything, this may be a good time to be a social startup if you are that. Investing, given it slowed down everywhere, but I don't think this is necessarily a bad time for being a social entrepreneur. If anything, this may be a positively a better time for you, because this is a time when all the humans are thinking about humanity more than they ever did. Otherwise, they were all busy playing games or watching TikTok videos, or going to PVR and or going to clubs, etc. Now they have time and they can't go to many places. So frankly, if anything, they can possibly think about social startups or hearing about volunteer and participate somehow. Fundraising is difficult for everyone. It will be same for social impact investing. It will not be any better or any worse for you, in my view. If anything, this is a positive time, relatively speaking, for the social, in my view.
Yeah. Srinath had a question. He's asking, in such pandemic situations, will be affected more? Is it early stage startups or established companies? And if it's early stage startups, how can we overcome? Well, you've spoken about it, but still, if you want to touch upon it a bit more, I think our audience will
So,
be happy to.
right, you're breaking a little on my internet. Did you say that who will be more impacted, the established companies versus the early stage startups, correct? Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So both will be impacted. How was the world looking in February 2020 or January 2020 or December 2019? The world was that the large established companies were barely, barely okay, unless obviously the business model is bad or some promoter siphons off some money, etc. Most of them were doing pretty okay, and they were not really threatened by anything. Startups were always threatened anyways. 90% of them don't survive 3 years, so certainly now it's become harder for startups, of course. Instead of 90% surviving this as a part of their 3 year, now maybe 95% would not survive. But now the difference is that even are also being challenged. Many of them you will start seeing shutdowns in the next 2-3 months. Whom you could have never imagined would ever struggle. They were all good business models, but they only worked when the society worked or the economy worked. The moment which is a base assumption, the world changes. You cannot take anything for granted anymore. So frankly, startups have gone worse. The established companies' odds have gone much worse from a point where they were never in odds with their existence. Right now, it's just gone horribly wrong for them. So in my view, bigger you are, more you're in trouble. Smaller you are, more likely it is that you can pivot or you can manage your stuff and you can survive somehow. I think in this point, being small is better. Less is more. More people, resources, infrastructure, revenues you have, more you're gonna be impacted.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much for so nicely answering this. Abhishek is asking for some insights for people inclined towards offline businesses. Any insights which might be helpful in this kind of a situation for people who are more or less working in offline businesses?
Sorry, what's the question? That people who are working in offline businesses, what about them?
Yeah, so some insights which might be helpful for them to, to sail through.
Okay, so offline business, you are lucky if you are selling grocery, you are lucky if you are selling medicines, you are lucky if you're part of some essential services company in an offline model. Just sit tight, tell your teams that you cannot pay them, your shops are shut or your businesses are shut, there's nothing you can do. Just wait it out and hopefully you have a few months runway. You will need to cut everyone's salary. You cannot keep paying the whole team, I would imagine. You might be sitting on inventory of stuff in the offline world. So just manage your cash flows as sensibly as you can. But imagine that this lockdown is not for 3 weeks. It's for much longer. Plan it if it doesn't open for 3 months. 3 months later, when it opens, assume that your sales are going to be down at least 50%. How do you manage with it? Or versus if they're down by 80%, or versus if they're down only by 20%. So you may have to do some scenario and analysis, make some good average worst case scenarios, and then work around it and make it transparent to your team. But if you're not part of the essential services, you don't run a grocery shop or any offline business that caters to that or something like that, you're likely to struggle and your business will be down for sure in the next few weeks to few months, and then it will be down even after that. So you need to really prepare for the worst case scenarios and then keep evolving it a bit proactively.
Sure. And Rohit had a question wherein he was asking about what will be the impact on real estate in the US and Canada after this thing is over or not over. I don't know. In the times to come, what will be the impact on real estate in states and Canada? You may choose to answer it.
My gut So my gut feeling is that it'll drop everywhere. Real estate will become very difficult because many of the real estates are funded by debt. And with debt, what comes is a liability to keep paying bank the interest, whether you are getting any rental or any other income from the property. Whoever was living in prime properties or buying prime properties for investing, prime meaning, let's say if you're in Chandigarh, then in Sector 17 or Elante Mall showroom, something like that, or if you're in Bombay, in BKC, if you're in Delhi, it's in, let's say Cyber City or something. Is more likely it is that its rentals will drop dramatically, but your interest rates are not going to drop. So I think most properties, given there is always a function of debt in the property, they'll all struggle, they will all drop. They drop by 10% for sure. All properties, I can give it in writing. Can some of them drop 30, 20, 40% as well? Yes, and that's scary. And there may be not too many real estate transactions from here on. And lastly, because people have to live in a crowded New York City, or I want to live in a crowded Delhi, Mumbai city, why don't I live out of Goa or live out of Chandigarh and work from home like everyone else is doing? So that will also make that the prime properties in big cities and big urban cities will start dropping. So in my view, property prices will drop everywhere, US, Canada, India, everywhere. 10% or 50% is a question, depending on how expensive it was, how well or badly funded it was, and how much footfall is expected there. But even if the lockdowns opens in May or June or at some point soon, doesn't mean that people will start going in numbers anywhere. The footfall will dramatically reduce in every market, in every mall, in every place. So they're likely to be government curbs on that. They cannot have more than 5-10 people in a place together or 50 people in a place together. So all that will imply that the real estate prices will drop significantly in the next few months.
Got it. And Harshit is asking, what impact do you see on online marketing businesses, especially influencer marketing businesses who are working with brands and influencers?
So I think Google has already started to say that they are struggling with the Google AdWords sales, etc. Like I said, the big companies, when they start struggling, which all of them are right now, they will stop spending, and their spends are in marketing, and they'll hold back on the marketing spends. Just how I end up to do marketing and sales online and offline during the IPL season. Tons of them. All of them have held back everything now. Nobody's buying Google AdWords for anything or whatever online digital marketing there. So frankly, I think currently the digital marketing spend is one of the definite cuts we're gonna see. The digital marketing influencers who were charging, I don't know, $1 if they were charging $1 to do something for you, now they're gonna be willing to do it for less than 20 cents or 30 cents because frankly it costs them nothing, and they have 1 million followers. They post something, they'll be doing it really cheaply. And in terms of the client business, it's gonna be very low for the next few months, and hopefully July, August onwards it starts picking up a bit. But until then, digital marketing businesses will also struggle because nobody wants to spend on marketing when there is no client to buy any product anywhere in the world. So that it'll be a tough time for digital marketing businesses as well. And Google has started, by the way, saying some things on those lines. Or I was speaking to someone who told me from Google that their advert businesses and all of them are struggling and dropping right now.
Sure. As a matter of fact, actually, the cost per click has come down, drastically come down. So in a way, as the competition is dropping, people will be able to promote themselves better. But obviously, with not the buying intent, with the branding intent, if at all they're looking to, then they can actually promote themselves at dirt cheap prices right now. The cost per clicks are at their lowest right now. Nevertheless, now Piyush has a question wherein he's asking, how do you look at the hyper-local businesses post-COVID?
So hyper-local is the aggregator delivery businesses, right?
Yes.
And Vineet, I'm just checking. Hyper-local is how you define the aggregated delivery businesses, right?
Yes.
It's more like big baskets of the world.
Right.
Okay. So I think given people are going to go less, hyper delivery models will make more sense. I would say you can deliver vegetables at my doorstep, deliver fruits at my doorstep. Essential products and services, which we have all realized are the most important ones right now. These businesses would likely do well. I don't think they will struggle because everyone needs food to eat, and everyone will also keep hoarding every month, knowing that sometime the pandemic can come back as well. So I think these businesses may not do that badly. They will do reasonably well. This may be a good opportunity for them, but for the 2-3 months they're locked down but when it opens, it would be okay for them. But the deliveries of, let's say, if you call it, let's say Zomato, people ordering from restaurants, that may not be back to the normals they were in February or before, because two reasons. One, people will be scared, why eat outside where we don't know if somebody has had this flu pandemic or not. The fear will really make them not trust to eat from somewhere they don't know or they don't trust. They will have apprehensions about it. And secondly, many people will not want to spend either if they don't have the jobs that they had months ago. So, due to lack of finances, money, and due to the trust issue which people will have on the small restaurant deliveries, etc., the food market, the business in which Zomato and Swiggy are primarily, that may not come back to the new normals. Delivery, etc., stuff will drop. I think. I don't know how much, but it depends on how people react to this and how the next 2-3 months go. But that'll definitely drop. But the other, I think, because people prefer that they get delivered at home. It's convenient, it's faster, it's cheaper, it's easier, and they don't have to interact with others and possibly catch the virus. So that fear will make them order more and more online, I think. So something similar, small scale in a small town, it's likely to be a good business.
Sure. Now, one question which you might personally like a lot. Srinath is asking, is it a good time to start a health ATM startup now?
So generally, crises are good times to start the startup. Depends though on what kind of startup it is. Reality is for most startups, depending on what kind of business you're in. But number one, carefully pick your sector, because many sectors are going to get wiped out in the next few quarters to years. Many sectors are going to struggle and shrink dramatically in the next few quarters. So carefully pick the sector. If your sector is right, this is not a bad time. And if you can initially fund it and play it out for a year, because generally most businesses and startups need good 3-6 months, 2 years of investment building the product or a service or some model, etc. This is a good time, because by 2020 will be a bad year and horrible year for everyone. 21, everyone will start recovering a bit. Hopefully by then, if right and the market starts growing again, 2022, you can see a good uptick. But you need to be sure that if you're start in the right sector, which is likely to survive in 2021. Spend good time in building value into your proposition, into your startup in the meanwhile, and make sure you can survive the cash. You can manage your cash flows in between by keeping it low and reasonably funded by friends, family, or however you can do that. And this may not be a bad time for that. If your sector is right, and if you are able to spend good 1-2 years in building your product or service or whatever you're doing, it may not be a bad time. It's a good time to consider it for sure.
Got it. Soumya has another one. She's asking, what do you think will happen to the fintech and specifically personal lending industry?
So fintech is broadly put. Fintech is a very directly used term. It broadly represents two big sectors. One is payments, one is lending. These are the two big things banks do and make money on anyways, and these are being disrupted away from banks by some startups. So in terms of, I think, so in the Indian context, I assume you're talking about lending. So about India, in the Indian context, in my view, the banking sector was already struggling in February as well. Yes Bank was struggling. Carvey, a financial institution, had went down, is going down, or whatever, how they're merging it to pennies to a dollar. NBFC crisis we've seen big time last year. ILFS and many other NBFCs, Divan Housing, who messed up. So banking sector was going through this until February in spite of COVID-19. Now COVID-19 has actually made it even worse for them, because banks are now all the debt that banks have with different corporates that is not going to get paid back, or by the real estate guys that is going to get back. Liquidity will shrink from here on. So frankly, the lending or any digital lending fintech startup for lending will find it hard to bring the money, because remember, all the lending let's say talking about, and in Indian context, on one side they were trying to bring consumers who need loans. Sure, consumers, maybe corporates, maybe retail, maybe whoever, that's fine. On the other side, they were trying to bring someone who gives, okay, and that loan was coming from either a bank or a financial institution like an NBFC, which is, by the way, the whole sector is gone and very much in troubles right now, or some other way of bringing the capital. So bringing the capital will become a challenge. So I think lending will become a very difficult one from here on. Not to say it may not be an opportunity for 2 years later if you take that view, but it's a risky one. Short term, you'll not be able to lend anyone anything. You can give me a ticket, and good luck in the future trying to recover it back if I make anything out of it, or if I survive the period or not. But how will you finance it is a question, and the NBFCs are pretty much not anymore. Banks are going to be struggling with liquidity, and they will also not be offering you their balance sheets at all. So frankly, lending process, I don't see how it can work by you doing something better than the bank without having the bank's balance sheet behind. It may be a very hard business to execute. Not to say that people don't want it or the market doesn't want it. Market wants it, you want to execute it, but banks will not lend you, in my view, not easily. Okay, so that's a challenge I foresee. Depending on what specifics you are thinking, we can maybe take the specific question offline if you want to reconnect.
Sure. And Abhishek has a question wherein he's asking, what new business opportunities does this pandemic open up, which are also sustainable for the long run?
So I think few big sectors are going to open up. One, now imagine people are going to do remote working. Slack, you need a webinar, you need this GoToMeeting, etc., etc. So these kind of tools which enable work from home, work from distance, kind of a model replacing the offices. These are today, and they will be in the next few months, and they will be for the future as well. That's one sector. One thing I see. Second, I foresee is also the healthcare sector. Now, I think I believe Indian government is spending 1 to 2% of its GDP or the annual budget into healthcare. My gut feeling, and on defense, I think we are spending close to 30%, buying the helicopters and whatnot. I think my feeling almost has to reverse. We need to spend a lot more in healthcare to avoid such kind of scenarios in the future or be better prepared with it. So the healthcare will represent a lot of technology and other disruptive opportunities. You need to, quickly put out medicines, produce the API salts underneath, do the research, test the virus, bio, health tech, etc. Healthcare in its own, telemedicine, these are the things everywhere there's an opportunity. So healthcare is a good sector, which was always big, but this pandemic has made it even much bigger and much more opportunistic. And whilst it's obviously a massive sector, you will need to pick up the segments within the sector where you want to operate. But I think, and lastly, I think sectors like esports and all, where you just sit at home, play games on your computer or a mobile, and have others watch games and do live streaming, etc. Those kind of things will also pick up much more. The current prices have possibly shown us some of these opportunities, in my mind.
Sure. Another one from Harshit, and he's asking, what major changes do you see in the education sector after the pandemic? What new education ecosystem will look like in India?
So I think, I don't know if you saw this, or I also overheard this, I didn't read this. Government has asked CBSE to figure out a way to conduct the classes offline, online. So they don't have to come to school or come to anywhere where the schools and the facilities are. So frankly, it will become more online. Curriculum. It will mean the content creation and sharing and reviewing and testing of students will go more and more online and more digital. For the reason that tomorrow, imagine 6 months later, 1 year later, we have the cure. This virus is behind us and we are all sorted. But in the future, why would parents send their kids to school every day? It's not safe. You can still get some other cold or virus from someone else. Why don't few people go in rotation and few work from connect from home? So they start connecting from home on their mobile or their laptops, etc. More will go more and more digital, and there is room for a lot of players to come in and help out, drive that process. In any case, there was a personalized learning concepts coming from Byju's and many others in the background anyways. Now, if you can make the schools go more online, go more digital, that's an opportunity for many people, and it will represent a lot more opportunities in the future as well.
Got it. Gurlal has been waiting for a long time, and he's asking, is it possible to run a startup without raising money, without raising funding?
Yes, of course. The best startups are actually run without raising much money or any money. So this was one of the webinars we did a week or two ago, where we talked a lot more in depth about this. But the key idea is the following: fundraising has somewhat our minds of our society as a sign of success. Fundraising, it doesn't mean you are successful. Fundraising just means that you've got some money and you've got some runway, and by the way, that brings a lot of pressure from your investors to make sure you deliver. Okay? It's not without any strings attached. So fundraising is not a sign of success. How many companies can you think of who raise tons of money but are nowhere to be seen now? Many. So frankly, fundraising you should not do it because others are doing it or because it's fashionable or it gets you. Do it because your business plan demands it. Okay. I think the concept of fundraising will drop significantly with the debacle that SoftBank is going through. Many other VC firms will go through as a repercussion. In a way that people will not raise much, and they will run their business plan slowly and without raising funds, and in a bootstrap model where they'll put some of their own money, develop something, sell it, from that money invest more, invest it back into the business, bootstrap it, scale it again, and they will, instead of doing something in 2 years, they'll do it in 4 years, but they'll do it much more sustainably and much more in a much more focused way, rather than doing what VCs and all the startup investors had been forcing sometimes, if not definitely pushing entrepreneurs to do, which is that do something, will give you 10 times the money, but you do everything you were meant to do in the next 10 years, do it in a year. Because when you go this fast, you definitely, when you accelerate this fast, you definitely break, you lose focus, etc. So frankly, doing a startup without raising money, all you need to do is figure out your cash flows, your growth cycle, how you're going to earn, how you're going to invest, what your spend is, do very well, and they never raise any money.
Got it. Piyush is asking how to market a new healthcare product in the market in these times.
Sorry, repeat the question. How the market will review the healthcare product?
No. He's asking how to market the healthcare products in these times, in the ongoing times. How to market the healthcare products.
So look, in the current times, it depends what your product is, right? If it's if you have found a machine, means you need to go physically and do the demo. If it's an online app, you can possibly do. The healthcare workers right now, this year, their priority is to save people, to test for COVID-19, to take care of the sick people and make as many survive as possible, etc. So it will not, you will not get much attention from any doctors and hospitals easily, because they're going to be stressed with many other priorities which are certainly more important. So in this time, it's not going to be easy. But depending on what your product is and who is it for, if it's a remote app or a digital platform, maybe you can find time with some people. Not all doctors are busy. Many doctors are free. They're doing nothing because they're not involved in the overall healthcare of the COVID-19 patients. They are different specialization doctors. So those may have time to look at your products. Find the database, however you do, online or offline. You can possibly still do certain things with them. But if you are trying to market some physical products, healthcare products to some doctors or hospitals, generic, who are taking care of COVID-19, etc., testing or patients, you're not going to get their time, I guess. Right.
Got it. Srinath has a question wherein he's asking your view on electric vehicle sector. And as an angel investor, are you investing in the EV sector or not?
In which sector?
Electric vehicles, EV.
I like the space. Future vehicles have electric. I like the space. It's likely to grow. That's a positive, but rest depends on the details. But yes, I'm open to investing in the sector.
Sure. And yeah, so Himanshu has a very good question wherein he's asking, where can we get investment at the very beginning of a startup?
So early stage, idea stage, close to the idea or around the idea right now. So in this case, generally, the funding can come from the first round, which we call FFF, Friends, Families, and Fools. So frankly, that's your earliest money. The first few lakhs may come from your family, or otherwise your uncle is richer, or you bring in a co-founder whose parents or uncle is rich. So that's a one way. Second kind of funding may come from university grants. So assuming you are from some school or college or university, try and take their grants. They have some startup funding. There are some Atal incubation centers, some government Startup India policies are there where they're investing in early stage startups. So see if you're eligible for that. That may be another route of funding. Third funding could come from, which will be difficult for the few months at least, if not for the full year, is from the banks. So banks are forced sort of or mandated by the government to do startup investing, sort of not investing, startup loans, giving loans to startups, but without any collateral. So it's not that they'll take your house or pay its house or something. So banks are also giving loans at a risk and knowing that if it's house. So banks are also giving loans at a risk and knowing that if in a year you shut down, they lose the loan. Okay, that may be the third choice. So these are the three options at which from which you can choose early on: university, government grants, banks, debt, startup scheme. Google this up, you'll find something. And thirdly, friends, families, and schools. So these are the three early sources of your startup. If you don't have your own savings, this is the way you can raise some money.
Sure. In fact, for the benefit of our listeners, we have Dr. Anurekha Sharma on this call from Kurukshetra University. So they've actually come up with a very early stage, opportunity, like early stage ticket size that they can chip into the startups. So I've actually unmuted her at the moment. Dr. Anurekha, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon, Kunal, and good afternoon, Vineet.
Good afternoon.
And thanks for giving me this opportunity, Vineet, to attend this webinar, which is very, very relevant to the present times. And I think so most of my queries also have been answered by Kunal. And I fully agree with you that during present time, we have to be good human beings first. And next, we have to judiciously use the funds. So that is very important for all the startups. But as the coordinator of the Kurukshetra University Technology Innovation Center, I can say that in this moment of crisis, our university can be helpful to the early stage startups who are looking for funding because we are initiating the funding for the startups. So many of you who might be looking for the funds can look towards the Kurukshetra University. And my second question, which I had posted, that has already been answered. The question was that since we are saying that there will be a lot of things which would be happening from home online, therefore we have to grab the opportunity for the IT based startups where we can come up with the apps which are useful for the present scenario. uh, Reason being that India doesn't have a good bandwidth as far as the internet is concerned, so we have to come up with the apps which can work on the present bandwidth. So that's what I feel.
Sure,
So
sure.
what do you say, Kunal?
Yeah, of course. So I think like if you see Zoom or many other products, all of them, or even the live video streaming, whether it's for Hotstar, Netflix, or whether it's for Twitch,
Yeah.
where you watch esports live, all these platforms basically are sending and receiving a lot of audio video data, which is generally content rich and very heavy. And given that our bandwidths on most of our mobiles, irrespective of 4G or not, or broadband or not, are generally constrained, and solutions where you can do the compression, decompression, encryption of stuff of the data much more efficiently, and you can bring in your products, integrate with them, or form a solution for the end user so that they seamlessly get their data transferred over a more efficient channel and in a more efficient way. So, by the way, there is a Netflix or Hotstar TV series called Silicon Valley, which is super funny, talks and not too far away from reality, though it's meant to be in a funny way. Where the core idea of the startup that they run over the 6 seasons is a compression algorithm like this, which can make the data transfers much more efficient, cheaper, and faster. And definitely, it's a need of the hour. And in Silicon Valley, on this as well. In India, also, we need an India-centric solution because the opportunity here is the following: that Indian government would eventually, in the next year or two, start questioning, if they don't already do it, the involvement of the Western Silicon Valley coming into India, launching their solutions and taking the data back, because they'll become more conscious of the data. So if you're an Indian startup doing the same things as they are doing, you are likely to also have an opportunity and a play because of the Indian local nature of your company. So there may be more opportunities there. So yes, it's one of the opportunities you guys can look at.
Yeah. One more thing that I want to raise is that you talked about social entrepreneurship. Given that a lot of students in India are from the rural background and they study in the government schools, how do you think that online, as far as the private schools are concerned or public schools are concerned, we cannot compete with the infrastructures that they have? But what about the students who are in the rural setup, who cannot afford to have smartphones? So can we come up with the solutions by means of the startup where we can address the needs of the students who are basically in the rural background?
So as GAN, we have invested in one company called Ecovation, which actually tries to do that. They try to digitize the learning experiences in government and rural schools only, and they try to do it more efficiently, and they try to bring a lot more content, better technology to track every student's learning and performance, etc. So there are some startups doing good work in the space. I do not know all the details myself, but in the absence of smartphones, I think the schools could be equipped with internet and some display facility, which could be a projector or whatever, through which they can get access to the global content that is made available from various public schools. And even in terms of content access with Khan Academy, MIT in US is publishing all their lectures online for free. Whatever an MIT student learns in MIT, you can learn online. Just go to their website, download, and so all the data will
No,
start
but
becoming available to everyone. But the
yeah,
access
I'm
to
sorry to
that will
interrupt
come
you, Kunal.
into us.
Yeah, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, Kunal, but during lockdown, how can these students go to the school? Therefore, we have to come up with the solution where they can be at home and still get the access to the lessons.
So without internet and smartphone or a computer, it's not possible today. I don't see a solution. If
Yeah.
some without if they don't have internet today, it's just too hard. I just don't know a solution as of now.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Shima.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now we'll take last one or two questions which are due for some time. So Gulal again has a question which is it possible to run startup with disruptive business ideas, with a disruptive business model instead of pumping money into the business, or instead of pumping money into disrupting?
So it depends what you're trying to do. Disruption is a very overused term. It has overtaken innovation, which was the previous most overused and abused term. Depends on what your disruption is, right? So if your disruption is that, let's say, you have to make people build habits of playing games online or build an esports something, it will need a lot of money investment, and you as a startup may or may not, would most likely not be able to do it. But certain disruptions can just be smart innovations which don't need money. They just need to find value. I'll give you an example. Many of you might have looked at or used Zoom as a product, right? Now, Zoom has some problems. It is not end-to-end encrypted. It has a lot of hacks, a lot of up now, but it has grown quite a bit in the last few weeks. But and Zoom has they gave a free 40-minute I believe call from to a group of X number of people. Assume you can copy the Zoom's technology, or you can do better, use some WebRTC. There are some technologies available open source on top of which you can build it. All you need to change is not put in as much marketing dollars as Zoom is putting, but just make it free for everyone every day as a 1 hour. Many calls in businesses and conversations end up as 1 hour rather than 40 minutes. If you do just 1 hour, that may in itself be an innovation through which you'll get more people away from Zoom. Assuming, of course, everything else you can match and be reasonably good in your product. So there are disruptions like this which could be just small, or innovations like this which could be just small, but it makes a massive difference to the user, or it makes their use case really work. So this you can eventually, hopefully, you can find a business model too. So I do think in many businesses, you don't need money. You need some smart ideas to implement things better, make them cheaper, better, faster, or more valuable to your customers. And if you can focus on that, you always do not need to pump in more money. The more pumping in money models are expensive, very risky, and they don't always work. Flipkart put in a lot of money, still Amazon is winning from them. Snapdeal put in a lot of money, billions of dollars, but Flipkart, big time. Paytm has put in a lot of money and they're still struggling to find a business model, etc. So, money investing is not always the best idea. It's not about raising the most, it's about finding and making the best with.
Got it. Thank you. So, since we are on the edge, any last parting notes that you have before we end the conversation?
Yeah, guys. So just stay safe, stay healthy, be a good human being. Entrepreneurship will follow. And if you want to get in touch with me, feel free to connect on LinkedIn or Twitter. And if you want some more offline one-to-one, we can certainly find time. I'm grounded. I'm not traveling. I'm pretty much stuck at home, work from home. So I should be able to find some time if you have any specific queries. So feel free to connect on LinkedIn and Twitter. And good luck. We'll try to keep doing this from Chandigarh Angels Network periodically. And if you want me to come back, do write to Vineet. Any other topics you want to cover, do tell us. We believe in crowdsourcing. So any ideas you have of other things you want to talk about, we can consider addressing them in the next sessions. And there could be better speakers than me who would come. So, we'll definitely open up to other speakers as well. But in case you want me to come back and address some topic, please let us know. And that's it. Good luck. Head down this year. It's important to do that physically, mentally, startup wise, and personally and family wise as well.
Thank you, Kunal. Thank you very much for your time. And look forward to connecting with everybody who just joined in. Thank you, guys. Stay safe and keep in touch.